Hello, right, what I've got for you today, this is something I thought some of you might find interesting. I'm going to do a little bit of a preview, an unboxing sort of thing, of the first P-Bandai kit that I've ever got, which is this. So this is the FA-78-2 Heavy Gundam. Now this is based on a design from the 1980s. It was part of the MSV, the Mobile Suit Variation sort of campaign that was that ran in the 80s. Basically, it takes a bunch of the sort of the standard designs and changes them a bit. So you've got things like the sort of the Zaku cannons, the Gelgu cannon, all that sort of thing. Some of the weird modified designs, and this is one of them. So this is the first P-Bandai kit that I've ever bought, and it's not one that I've seen much of, to be honest. I think the design is possibly a little bit unfashionable, shall we say, but I like it. It's quirky, it's interesting, it's a sort of a fresh take on the classic RX-78 design. So I thought I'd just show it to you, and maybe it'll sort of help inspire, or perhaps help you decide if you'd be interested in buying this or not. Anyway, so as you can see, it comes in the sort of monochrome P-Bandai packaging, which is slightly different to all the other the regular production kits that they do. So we've got, as you can see, a bit of art. You can't really see a lot because it's sort of off. It's not black and white. It's sort of brown and grey. But yeah. So what you've got, it's a fairly big box, as you can probably tell. It's the same size as sort of one of the other fairly large kits, like the Rick DS or something like that. It's a decent sized box. Anyway, so let's open it up and have a look. So what you've obviously got the manual, which I'll take you through in a second, with colour artwork, which I think shows it off a lot better. And then you've got quite a lot of sprues here. It's not ridiculous, but there's a fairly large number of parts. As you can see, lots of different colours as usual. You've got stickers in there, a few little screws, and then various different coloured parts. Beam sabers in there. Interestingly enough, there's no multicoloured sprue other than two different shades of grey and the clear there. Usually you get lots of sort of bright colours mixed in together, but this is all quite subdued really. It's all sort of grey or light grey and brown really, with a little bit of red thrown in as well. So, looking at the manual, zoom in a little bit there. What we've got, it's a fairly standard manual really, so you've got a nice bit of colour art on the front there. The usual sort of list of contents and warnings in Japanese, obviously. And looking through it, it's the fairly sort of standard layout really. So you start with the body and go on through all the various different sections, and then obviously backpack and weapons and things, and then the sort of final assembly at the end. Now there are some dry rub transfers somewhere, I think. Okay, they're evading me at the minute, but I'm sure they're in there somewhere, because you've got a list of where the markings go on here. I'll have to dig those out at some point. And then again, you've got some colour information on the back, painting guide sort of thing, with some, not really action poses, but you can see what you get. So one of the interesting things I like about this is the colour scheme. It's a very untypical Gundam colour scheme. You know, usually sort of bright and gaudy with the classic white and blue with red and yellow sort of trim and things. But this is quite a, I'm not going to call it a muddy brown because it's a bit richer than that, but as you can see it's quite a drab scheme in comparison to most, which I quite like actually. It's more sort of, it's more like a grunt really. You know, it's not garish like most are. There's very little else in here actually about the where the design. You know, usually these the manuals have a bit of sort of backstory, illustrating where they came from in the series. But obviously this is it's never been in a series. It's been in some games, as I understand. Some of the, you know, there's various different games that, and I think some of them feature this, but it's not had any animation time, so there's nothing to explain really. So getting into it, what I did find interesting, this kit was released last year, 2015, but it's actually not a very new kit, if that makes sense. What it's based on, as far as I can tell, I've spent a couple of hours researching this and looking into sort of the frame design of some of the other 78 kits that are out there. And as far as I can tell, this is actually based on the Perfect Gundam frame, which is quite an old kit now actually. You know, it's about 10-11 years old I think, and certainly the earlier half of the last decade. So you can't call it state of the art by any means. Now that's not to say it's a bad kit by any means. You know, you've got plenty of parts, lots of separation, and it's not lacking, as I say. The thing that drew me the most was this, the fact that there isn't internal detail on the legs. You know, the sort of the standard MGs have full frames and have done pretty much since the start, apart from some of the cheap ones, and the RX-78-4 and 5 I know don't have full frames, kind of like this really, and some of the GM kits and things I think don't have full frames. But as you can see, so you get the upper leg, the thigh gets a sort of a frame with external armour then, but the lower legs are just these two halves with polycaps for the ankle joints and things. So it's not super detailed, and certainly if you compare it to one of the newer master grades, say like it's like the, I don't know, the new Vercar or something like that, or the High New, I know has got a ridiculous frame inside it, which this doesn't have, as you can see. So if you're looking for sort of hyper detail, this is probably not for you. But as I say, there's plenty to be going on with here. As you can see, you've got the things like the backpack. Again, they're quite simple. I mean, they're not terrible, but they are not as partsy as you might expect for a master grade. Is that cutting corners? Is that due to because it's a P-Bandai, so it's a sort of limited production? I don't know. I couldn't say. It's possible that it was sort of done on the cheap, using old tooling from the Perfect Gundam kit. But I wouldn't call that a flaw. It's something to take into account if you're looking at this kit. But I think from what you get and what it looks like, I really like that, to be honest. It's big. You know, it's the RX-78. It's not a small design. It's bulked up. It's got this extra armour. You know, it's quite a bit chunkier than the standard 78, and you get this ridiculous Gatling gun launcher thing, which is its main weapon, which is impressive by itself. I mean, you could use that on someone else quite easily. You know, transfer it to a well, I don't know, if you're building like some sort of custom GM or something. I think that would look great on it, because you know it's very similar. It's boxy. It's not hyper sleek and angular like the like a lot of the newer designs are. You know, it would look stupid on an age kit or something like that. But I think for the classic Gundam original series, early days look. I think it's great. So I'm just going to take you through a couple of the parts now, just to have a quick look. Now, obviously, I'm not going to go through every single part and point it all out to you. That would be pointless, I think. But I'm just going to show you some of the sort of part separation and things that you've got. I mean, a lot of it is it's a standard RX-78. It's what you'd expect. So you've got, frame bits there. So you've got the body frame, all these bits and pieces, legs, hands and things there. You have, I don't know if you can see this, I don't know if that's reflecting, but you've got flexible fingers. So you've got the opposable thumb, trigger finger, index finger, and then the rest of the fingers. So it's not super detailed like some of the kits are. Now I'm building a DOM at the minute, and all the fingers, all the digits bend. It's amazing. It's a pain to clean up, but it's superposable. But this is, it's fairly standard. It's not state of the art by any means, but it looks good. Decent detail on there. Frame parts there. Then we go on to some of these external parts. So you've got feet. You've got, I think those are the part of the legs, possibly. I can't tell offhand. Shield detail. That's what I was looking for. So you've got transfers there. Can't tell if they're water slides or not, just from looking at these. They look like they might be. Yeah, I think they are actually. Yeah, they're not dry rubs. So that's a positive if you're the kind of person that hates dry transfers. I know some people get quite worked up about those. So it looks like you've got water slides in there. Lots of these little warning details. Lots of these look pretty cool actually. You've got sort of squadron badges and things here, which is always a nice touch. You can perhaps personalise it to an extent if you want to mess around with these. You could put some of these on anything really. You could put them on planes, or I mean, one of the my thing is sort of kind of kit bashing. So I can, I mix and match things, and I do a bit of scratch building and stuff as well. So mixing these around is something that I like to do. Anyway, getting off topic. So you can see you've got more frame part, more sort of external armour parts here. Beam sabers. This looks like arm pieces. I think that's the thigh armour. Bits of feet for the feet there. That is some of the leg detail. And then I've shown you that. More armour parts here. This is for the body and the chest. We've got the skirts pieces here. Bits for the legs. We've got a couple of screws there, which I think are for they might be for the shoulders. I'd have to double check, but a couple of screws. If that puts anybody off, it shouldn't, but if it does, it's something to be aware of. More armour parts. So you've got two of these actually. You've got two of these red one, and then you've got leg detail here and feet, shoulder pads. It actually looks, looking at this, comparing it to something else. So you've got spare parts here, I think. Just check that. Yes, so here we go. I should have mentioned this before. You've got an awful lot of parts here that aren't used. So this would be a really good kit for if you like to kit bash. So if you're looking to bash, perhaps you could even bash some of these add-on armour parts with a different 78 or even something else. Stick them on a GM or something. That would be quite an interesting thing to do. That's probably something I'll end up doing. So yeah, so you've got an awful lot of pieces here that you will have left over at the end, which is, for me anyway, I really like that. That's cool. So yeah, so those are the parts we'll use. That's the brown ones, the leg armour, bits of the feet and arms and things here. Got another one of those in here, and again the other parts of this leg and armour detail things. And then you've got this, which is part of the ridiculous weapon that this thing has. So those are the external parts. And then this last sprue, we've got polycaps and these horrible stickers, which I shall be disposing of. And then you've got the internals of the weapons here. So you've got this is part of the main Gatling gun. And then you've got the shoulder cannon here, and that's the ammunition drum and the barrels for the main weapon. So that's about it. I hope you found this interesting. It's a kit that I was intrigued about, and I found it at a really good price on eBay, so I had to snap it up. It's quite expensive generally, depending on where you buy it. Obviously you can find sort of decent prices if you look hard and if you're willing to wait. I paid, I think, £50 for this delivered, which was great, because normally it costs more than that by quite a considerable amount to get hold of something like this, in my experience, which is why I've never bought one before. But anyway, so it was a great deal. Yeah, I'm looking forward to building it. It's going in the pile for the moment because I've got too many other things on the go at the moment. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So I hope that's been interesting and informative. If you have any questions or suggestions or comments or anything, let me know. Please post a comment or something like that. I will check in on those periodically, obviously. I apologise for my sort of hesitant delivery. I'm not done very many of these videos before. In fact, this is my second ever sort of talking video, so I hope you'll forgive me that. Anyway, I hope that's been interesting, and yeah, let me know what you think.